Listen, I'm going to say something that will cause a firestorm, but it needs to be said. There are plenty of smart, successful, strong men all around, and many of them remain single for years. Not months, years. They aren't social outcasts or losers. On the contrary, these are the men who can afford to choose. They've meticulously built their lives and aren't willing to risk them for a fleeting illusion. And let's be honest, when was the last time you saw a genuinely happy couple under 30? Not a social media picture, not a pretty mask, but real intimacy. It's hard to recall, and that's no accident. The social contract that once made family and partnership mutually beneficial has been torn to shreds. All that's left is a chaotic market of inflated expectations and an emotional minefield. We live in a world where loneliness has become a rational choice for a man. This is no longer a tragedy, but a survival strategy. A strategy for preserving the resources he has worked so hard to accumulate. This isn't a whim, it's a cold calculation. After all, entering a relationship today is like getting into a car where the brakes are highly likely to fail. The math just doesn't add up anymore. The equation has become unsolvable, and any sane person simply puts the pen down. Modern relationships resemble a casino game. To participate, a man bets everything: his money, his sanity, years of his life, and the probability of losing is enormous. Moreover, the casino constantly changes the rules mid-game, making any long-term strategy impossible. Especially the legal system, which often seems heavily skewed against the man if the game ends. Family courts have turned into a mechanism for the redistribution of male assets. He risks losing not only half his property, but also his home, and worst of all, his children. Imagine being offered a game where 7 out of 10 walk away with nothing, and half of the remainder regret they even started. You'd agree, a rational person wouldn't sit down at such a table. And men are increasingly choosing not to play. They are leaving the table and taking their chips with them. I was talking to a friend of mine recently. He's 32, earns excellent money, looks great, works out. The full package. And he admitted he hasn't been on a date in 3 years. The reason is simple. Every time he opens a dating app, it turns into a job interview where the criteria are absurd. He's expected to be a provider, protector, entertainer, and therapist all at once, while the requirements from the other side are often vague and emotional. This isn't a search for a partner, it's a casting call for a superhero. A role, by the way, with no days off, no gratitude, and where any mistake leads to immediate dismissal. His own comfort, his dreams, his peace of mind, none of it matters on this application. Height from 190 centimeters, 6'3", plus. Income in the top 3%, property in the capital, charisma of a comedian, body of an athlete, plus the empathy of a psychotherapist. And when a man like this sees these demands, he understands this is a market where the price has long been detached from the actual value. He sees that women at his level are looking for men a level above, and women at a level below are looking for him. It's a pyramid where the man at the top gets nothing but a list of demands. He just closed the app and invested that free time into his portfolio, which, unlike this market, provides a predictable return. This confusion of requirements and self-worth has become rampant. Back when I was 22, I met a girl who worked as an assistant, lived with her parents, and was barely making ends meet. But her list of requirements for a man included a business, an apartment downtown, vacations abroad, and free time for entertainment. When asked what she offered in return, the answer was, "I am the gift." This staggering sense of self-importance, completely detached from one's own contribution, is the root of the problem. It's the belief that your mere presence is the ultimate prize, requiring no reciprocal effort. This attitude is everywhere. This is an infantile position, which for some reason is considered the norm in modern discourse. Women who can't cook demand a personal chef. Those who don't work out look for athletes. Those who are drowning in debt want millionaires, and all of this is presented as normal. Any attempt to point out this absurd imbalance is immediately labelled as misogyny. Society, fueled by social media algorithms, actively encourages this illusion. And what happens when the game is rigged so only one side can win? People stop playing. Men are not idiots. They see how their friends are ruined by divorces, how good guys pay alimony to women who despise them. They see careers built over decades split in half. They see how one false accusation can destroy a reputation forever, even if it is later disproven. They see men lose access to their own children based on accusations thrown in anger. They see how in network, men are ridiculed for not being good enough. They see how women are amused by using men for free dinners, and how this is discussed openly, as if it's a fun life hack. This is no longer dating, it's petty fraud celebrated as female empowerment. And when these same women ask, where have all the good men gone? The answer is simple. They've retreated into their own lives. They play video games, build careers, spend time with friends, because in those arenas, effort yields results. There, the rules are fair and predictable. Input X, get Y. The real poison isn't even the standards. It's that male effort is taken for granted. A man can work 60 hours a week, provide a home, fix things, be caring, remember dates, plan romance, and all he'll hear is, that's the bare minimum. Meanwhile, minimal effort from the other side is often presented as a heroic sacrifice or a special favor. The imbalance of expected effort is staggering. A man must constantly prove his worth while a woman's worth is considered unconditional. A generation ago, a man who provided for his family was a hero in his wife's eyes. Now, even being a millionaire doesn't guarantee gratitude. His money is seen as a resource that should be available by default. On social media, devaluation has become the norm. Try searching for all men are trash, you'll get millions of posts, and it gets liked, shared, and treated as the gospel truth. Try to write the opposite, you'll be banned, accused of hatred. This constant stream of negativity is being absorbed. Men are simply tired of being a punching bag for other people's projections and dissatisfaction. Why would a man want to be the good guy in a story where he's always cast as the villain? We have normalized disrespect for men, and then we wonder why they're leaving the game. It's like spitting in someone's face every day and then asking why they don't come to visit you anymore. He'll just stay home, where it's safe, and where he is valued for who he is, not just for what he can provide. There are countless stories. An IT guy told me how he invited a girl out, took her to an expensive restaurant, paid for dinner, and tried to make conversation. She spent the entire evening filming stories for social media. The food, the interior, the cocktails. Herself. It was as if he wasn't even there. She contributed nothing to the conversation, offered no engagement, showed no warmth. She was merely a spectator at an event organized for her benefit. At the end, she said, "That was boring," and left without even a thank you. He was just an accessory for her online persona, a wallet to facilitate content creation. The next day, she wrote a post about how men have forgotten how to date. Episodes like this destroy any faith that the game is fair. They demonstrate that for many women, a man is not a partner, but a function. The function of a wallet, the function of a driver, the function of an Instagram photographer. Take the housing issue. A young woman can be living in a rented room, sleeping on a mattress, eating instant noodles, but she will still reject a man with a good salary because he doesn't own an apartment downtown. Yet in large cities, only a tiny fraction of young men can boast of owning their own property. This single criterion screens out 95% of the male population in her age group. Thus, the vast majority are deemed unworthy by default. She isn't looking for a partner with whom to build a life, but a finished product she can move into. And then we hear the complaint, there are no good men. They exist, but they are no longer participating in this humiliating casting call. They have become invisible to this system. I knew a girl who spent 5 years rejecting everyone. She even had a spreadsheet of requirements. Income over 150K, height over 6'1", car, travels. She worked as a secretary for a modest salary. She spent her best years auditing candidates instead of building a connection. Today, she is 35 and is frantically lowering her standards. But the men she wanted have long since chosen women who valued them at the time. They chose women who offered partnership, not an inspection. Time is ruthless. She bet that her value would rise forever, but biology and the market decided otherwise, and the strong and independent narrative has become a meme. Truly independent women don't boast about it. The loudest ones are those living paycheck to paycheck and borrowing money for entertainment. It's reminiscent of someone who can't afford a car claiming they prefer to walk. This is a defensive narrative, masking the fact that the market is no longer interested in her terms. Nobody has repealed the biological clock, and men see how this is reflected in women's behavior. At 20, they don't need a man. At 28, they present a list of dozens of requirements. At 33, they wonder where the good men went. By 40, they're willing to date just about anyone. It's a predictable script. Men are simply stepping aside and letting this natural process unfold, refusing to be the panic button at the end. They don't want to be the backup plan for someone who spent their youth chasing an unattainable ideal. And men have drawn their conclusion. Why would a successful 3-5-year-old man get involved with a 3-5-year-old woman who is tired, has accumulated baggage, and still demands the impossible when there is a 2-5-year-old right next to him who is genuinely happy to be with him? The 2-5-year-old hasn't yet been poisoned by a decade of cynicism and inflated expectations. She still possesses the femininity and gratitude that have been systematically eroded from the 3-5-year-old. This isn't cruelty, it's market reality. A man, just like a woman, is looking for the best possible deal for himself. Social media has completely distorted perception. Every woman thinks she deserves a top-tier man because she got a match on Tinder once. She doesn't realize she's competing not with local men, but with the top 0.1% of men on Instagram, who are being hunted by thousands of other women. But this is an illusion, like winning $5 on a slot machine and thinking you're a professional gambler. The irony is that most men want very little: to have peace, to avoid constant drama, to have loyalty and sincerity. But even this is now seen as an impossible demand. They are told that wanting a loyal and calm partner is misogyny or control. A man's desire not to live in constant conflict is now equated with oppression. Attempts to shame men don't work either. Call him an incel, he'll shrug and go to the gym. Tell him he's not a real man, he'll calculate how much money and sanity he's saved. These insults have lost all their power. They are the desperate cries of a side that has lost its leverage. The man has taken back his main leverage, his attention and his resources. Men have understood that loneliness isn't scary. What's scary is being with someone who doesn't value you. And so, loneliness is no longer a misfortune. Men have adapted. They got dogs, found hobbies, strengthened male friendships, focused on their careers. Their lives are full, structured, and, most importantly, peaceful. He is the master of his own destiny, and his emotional state doesn't depend on someone else's whims. They have turned loneliness into freedom. They invest in themselves, and those investments will never betray them or file for divorce. Meanwhile, women are increasingly facing a crisis because they believed they could have everything whenever they wanted. They thought they could party in their 20s, build a career in their 30s, and then just pick a husband off the shelf when it was convenient. But the store is closed. The apps made the situation worse. They gave average women the illusion of infinite choice. Hundreds of matches create the feeling that they are Cleopatra. She confuses this stream of low-effort attention with genuine romantic interest. But men are swiping right on everyone, and their interest is limited to a one-time meeting. He is playing a numbers game for casual sex, while she thinks she is auditioning potential husbands. In the end, the illusion of validation becomes a drug, preventing them from building reality. And men see only risk in relationships, an investment with no return. Women's demands are considered standards, while men's preferences are a crime. A woman's list of 50 non-negotiable financial and physical qualities is knowing her worth. Women are allowed to want a tall or rich man. A man is not allowed to want a slim or young woman. A man's simple preference for a physically healthy woman is body shaming. The double standards are everywhere. Women have been convinced that they are perfect, and men have been convinced that they are always inadequate. Unsurprisingly, many men are no longer playing. They live for themselves and feel at peace. Their money is theirs, their time is theirs, and there are no endless complaints. Why would anyone voluntarily trade this sovereignty for slavery? This isn't loneliness, it's freedom. And yes, men are staying single, and women bear the responsibility for this. Not all of them, but a sufficient number to change the rules. Until they admit this, nothing will change. Men have already adapted. They are fine. The real question is, are women fine? Because every year, their options narrow, while men's options expand. This isn't revenge, it's simple reality. And reality is undefeated, and that reality is that men have left, and they do not plan on returning under the old terms. Thanks for watching. Write your comments, subscribe to the Psycheria channel.